sometimes guys ask me, well, how come I got out, or what are some tips or things to look out for, when you're getting out and stuff like that. And I know some guys and girls who've had like a flawless transition from the military into the civilian world, and I've known some people who, had a little bit more of a tougher time, and then unfortunately, I know some veterans who still haven't figured it out, still haven't adapted, and they're still kind of lost. And I'm gonna mention some things that I wish someone else would have told me, and I know I'm not the only one who's gone through stuff like this, but unfortunately, not that many people want to talk about it, even to their own friends, because I know when my friends would message me or call me, be like, "Hey, how's it going?" I would just say, "Oh, it's going well. It's going great. It's going great. Everything's good. Or, everything's awesome." But the reality is that sometimes you can have a plan A, you can have a plan B and plan C, and it just doesn't go according to plan. And the reason I can't tell you, why to get out or not to get out, or stay in or not to stay in or whatever, but you know, I got out because after my son was born, things kind of changed, and this old timer, this old SF guy once told me, we were deployed, and it was kind of just a little downtime, and he wasn't really like looking at me, but he was like, you know, my daughter's about to get married, and I remember saying something like, "Oh, congrats, like that's awesome," and he's like, "I don't really know the guy." He's like, I've met the guy, but like I don't really know him. I don't know anything about him. We've gone out to dinner and stuff like that, but I mean, I don't know the guy. You know, if you ask me, I don't really know my daughter either. If you ask me what's her favorite color, or what's her favorite movie, I don't know. I've just been away for so long, and I don't really know my family. And he said that because I think he said that because everybody knew my son was just born, and my son was born when I was in Afghanistan. So I think he said that. I'm not sure if to like warn me, or me having my son kind of reminded him of his situation, but that always stuck with me, and at the same time I told my wife, I was like, I promise, because I had missed so much of the pregnancy, so much of family events, of birthdays, of celebrations, of anniversaries, of family members dying and I wasn't there, um, of big events I was just absent for. And when my son was born, I told her, obviously I wasn't there when he was born, and I told her, I was like, I'll be there for his first day of school, I promise. You know, I'll do that. I'll be there for that. I'll never miss it. And fast forward to a couple of years, and uh, it was time to pay the price. You know, you know, keep my promise. And at the time, I was being an assistant instructor at the Master Preacher course, and I got a call. He's like, "Hey man, we got an email saying that you're 9 months out, and you need to either start ACAPing or re up." And I had no idea. I had no idea. I had 9 months until I got out of the army, and I talked to my wife. Obviously, we both knew I made this promise, and my son was about to turn 4. So first day of school it's around the corner. So we talked, and at the end I was like, you know what, I'll get out. Enough is enough, and it's time to come home. I can't be selfish and just stay there, and I love it. I loved it, all of it. But it was time. It's time to get out. So, I've had a lot of great mentors, and who've told me like, all right, man, if you want to get out, that's awesome. But just make sure you have a plan A, plan B, plan C, and I wanted to cover all my bases. I was like, okay, if I prepare for everything, there's no reason why I'm not gonna go out and succeed like I did in the military. So my plan was to go to school, use my GI Bill. If school wasn't working or wasn't paying the bills, because school's awesome and everything, but I have a family. I can't just rely on the GI Bill. I have to support my family. So I was like, okay, I'll join. I'll make my way into law enforcement, and at the same time, I'll still keep going to school. If school's not, working, I'll just be like a part time student, and if school failed completely, because I mean in high school I failed everything besides PE and math. I mean I bombed everything. I wasn't a great student. I didn't care what the teacher was trying to teach me, and I didn't care for anything. So obviously that was in the back of my mind. What happens if it's the same for college and I just don't want to do it? So and if that were to happen, then you know what? No part time, no full time students. Just go into law enforcement. Um, have a family members who were prior service and now they're in law enforcement and they love it, and I mean those cultures, that lifestyle of being in law enforcement and in the military, they're not the same, but in some ways they're very similar, and I think that's why a lot of service members are like, you know what, I'll go join the DEA, ATF, or I'll be a cop, and later on make my way into SWAT or whatever, So I had all these plans, but what about the move? I was moving from Savannah, Georgia to California, and I talked to my sister. My sister's like, hey, you can stay in my house as long as you need to until you get back on your feet. I was like, okay. And this different SF guy told me, hey man, keep yourself busy. Keep yourself busy. Don't do this, I'm gonna take a year off or whatever. You're just gonna eat at yourself, and make sure you have a plan and stay busy and be ready for the storm. And I'll never forget that. That's another thing I never forgot. And I've never known this guy just to say shit just to say it. So when he said, be ready for the storm, I was like, okay, that stuck to me. I planned everything financially. I'd saved some money, so I was covered there. I was covered, and to stay busy, I have a passion for martial arts, so I found a gym that I was going to train at. Um, I was already enrolled into school, so I just had to get out, and lucky for me, my unit was super supportive, and there was no like added obstacles to it. And they're like, okay, man, you're about to get out, then all right, then do your thing, go to your appointments, have a plan, and good luck, So I got out. We drove back to California, and the first month or 2 months where it was like the honeymoon phase, it was like everybody was happy that we were home. I left, and I was just a little knucklehead, and I returned, with the family, 2 kids, a wife, and I had a plan. I was going to school, and everything was great. And I was like, okay, and I remember thinking like 1 month in, I told my wife, I was like, oh, he said be ready for the storm, but like what storm? Like it's smooth, everything's perfect. Like school's going great. Our living situation. I mean, my sister's not hassling me for rent or anything like that. And by the way, we were staying at her and her boyfriend's house. And everything was awesome. And then a second month passed, and then again, I told my wife is Annelia. I told Annelia, like, what storm was he talking about? Like, everything's awesome. It's perfect. And I thought I was just gonna be one of those guys who was just gonna transition out, and everything was gonna be, smooth. And after those 2 months, I had all these plans, and then it kind of just, it went to shit. And the more it went to shit, I couldn't believe it, and things were happening so fast that I could. I had a shitty upbringing, so I might say after getting out of the army and after those 2 months, it might have been the worst time of my life, if not the second. And it all started. My right control arm in my car broke, and I was on the freeway, and I mean, I didn't get in a major accident, but obviously my car just like turned violently to the right, and I gained control, and I was fine, and I go take it to the mechanic, and it had other problems as well, and $2,700 just went out the door. I was like, fuck, like I was like, it's fine. I'm not getting checks like I used to in the military. I'm not getting paid on the 1st or the 15th regardless, but you know what? I saved some money. I was prepared for this. Everything's fine, and 2 months in, I started realizing like, yo, California is expensive as fuck. And all this money that I had accumulated, it's now going away. And I was a great dad. I was a great Army dad. And when I say Army dad, it was because, you're gone for so long. You miss so much that when you come home, all you really have to do is just like go out, make some memories, and have a great time, because sooner or later you're going to leave. But this time, I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. They had a running joke like, oh, can we leave you with the kids? You know what to do? And I remember I was alone with the kids, and they were hungry, and I was thinking like what the fuck did you guys eat? Like what do I make you? Like, I mean, of course I've been there have had meals with my kids, but it's different where I'm alone, and they're telling me, I'm hungry, and I'm like, well, we're not going to a restaurant. Mom's not cooking. Like, I mean, what do I do? What do you guys like? And I realized I'd missed so much already. My son was 4. Well, he actually turned 5 when we got out, and my little girl's 3, and I'd missed so much. And then, I didn't plan on that. I didn't plan on that hitting me so hard, realizing that, what, you were a great Army dad, but now you have to be a dad who you have to adjust and adapt to a dad who's always there, and you have to help more. You helped as much as you could when you were around, but now you're not leaving. You're not going on a deployment or a training event, and you have to do more. And my wife was so supportive throughout the years. Everything that I did, everything that I missed my daughter's birth as well. All the extra training in schools and everything that I volunteered for, and because I told her, it's going to pay off. It's going to pay off. And she was super supportive. But, 8 years of being in and 8 years of her being super supportive and holding things back, it all kind of just cut out, because I wasn't leaving anywhere. I was staying home. And now I had to deal with our marriage issues, and I didn't plan on that. The one thing that I didn't plan for was one of the things that gave me the most, issues and headaches, and I just, our marriage was falling apart. School was getting harder than what it was, because I took electives my first semester, and then after the second semester, I wasn't taking electives. I was taking courses that I didn't really care for, but it's getting harder. The bank account all the money I saved is gone, but we're arguing more. But I was working out, so working out was like my therapy, but at the same time, so after 2 months, it was great. And then all of this stuff happened within 4 to 6 months after those great 2 months. Questions started popping in my head. After workouts, I would it'd be like a 30-minute drive back home, and questions that I never thought about, that never came into my head, just popped up. Like, I got out March 2016. And in March 2016, it was fucking election time, so all this shit is happening. And all this shit is happening, and you know, and I maybe because I was in the army, I didn't see all this like fucking hatred or whatever, you know, because like when you were in the army, when I was in the army, you know, people would protest like we'd come home from a deployment or training exercise, and I would see people with signs, you know, like baby killers and stuff like that, and some guys have even had like piss bottles thrown at them, and you know, like you see that stuff, and I never really got angry at them. Some of the people in my squad or platoon, they, you know, they would voice their opinions and be very angry. And I mean, like, look, nobody likes a piss bottle thrown at them, but when I would see the signs and they're yelling and all that, I thought I just came back from a country where if you were literally doing that to the military, they can just kill you. They can just kill you, and if the cops were to be called, you know, he'd tell them what happened, and most likely they wouldn't even do shit. Like, you just can't do that. And now you're in a country where you're allowed to yell shit like that at troops and get away with it, because it's like, you know, it's freedom of speech. It's rights that you know, past, present, future, and all that, you know, soldiers are fought for. Like, you're allowed to do that because of the people that you're actually protesting. So, you know, I never got angry. I was like, you know what? I can't fight for rights for people that only agree with me. So when I saw that, my only thought was, you know, I mean, you know, we fought for you to do that. And if that's how you feel, then that's how you feel, you know, whatever. I got other things to worry about. But I come out, and it's Mexicans fucking this, immigrants that, and it goes against everything that I lived. It's not even about opinions. It's about things that I lived myself. Like, for example, you know, it's fucking immigrants this, immigrants that, you know, when I got out. And I remember thinking, like, bro, I was in Iraq when this one guy who was in our platoon was about, they were going to do a ceremony of him becoming a citizen and stuff like that, or something like that. I didn't really know the guy, but I was like, you know what, I'll go to support, you know? And I remember thinking, I'm going to go get a workout, get some chow, and then on the way back, I can go to a ceremony, because the deployment was over, and now we were in a big base, and they had all these resources and stuff like that, and I'm like, awesome. So after chow, I went to the location that was supposed to be the fucking ceremony, and I saw my friend, you know, and he's from Kansas, and I remember thinking, like, yo, man, I don't think we're in the right place. He's like, yeah, we are. And there he is. And I'm like, and I remember looking at the formation. It was like 100 soldiers, you know. And I remember thinking, and I remember the majority of them were Mexican or Hispanic, you know, brown. And then the second biggest group were whites. And then there was a couple Asians and like a few blacks. And I'm like, what? This isn't fucking it. He's like, yeah, dude. He goes, what did you think, that Mexicans were the only illegals here? You know, immigrants? I was like, yeah, motherfucker. My entire fucking life. That's all I've ever seen. That's all I've ever heard on the news. You know, Mexicans this, Mexicans that, jumping over the border and all that. Like, so, yeah, I thought Mexicans, Hispanics were the only illegals in this country. And then at the same time, everybody from a platoon's like, nah, man, like, there's a bunch of Italians here, there's a bunch of Germans here, there's a bunch of French here, you know, because people from my platoon come from all over the United States. So, and some of those soldiers have died, you know, in Iraq or in Afghanistan. So when I see all this, like, immigrants are terrible, they're destroying our country, I'm just like, I mean, what are you talking about? I've seen so many immigrants fight for this country, die for this country. I don't, you know, and then there's the Hispanic thing, because I'm Mexican, so there's the whole, you know, Mexicans this, Mexicans that. I'm like, what? I mean, yeah, they're shitty fucking people, you know, but I mean, how many Mexicans do I know have that were born here or not born here have been fighting for this country. You know, so like, so back to being on the ride home from the gym, the questions that I never thought about are popping in my head, and it's confusing me, and it's adding to the issues of dude, you're starting to become broke. You know, your marriage is going down the drain, and I'm thinking like, dude, like, what the fuck did I fight for? Like, what am I fighting? What did I fight for? And then even that aside, you know, I start thinking about my dead friends, and I'm like, and I see all this shit, and people who don't like the troops or don't support the troops or are just not grateful, or people who do nothing for society getting rich, and I'm just like, dude, why did my friends die? Oh, why the fuck did they die? What did they die for? You know, why the fuck are we still there? My friends who are still in are getting hurt and dying, and I'm thinking, what the fuck are we doing? These type of questions I never popped in my head. You know, and you add this to the ball of fucking shit that's happening, and all these emotions that I haven't felt, you know, since like my childhood are now coming up. Like, I'm like, man, dude, I think I'm starting to get depressed. You know, and then besides all that, after 8 years of being turned on, of staying ready for things, all of a sudden I'm not in the army. You know, I don't have to be ready for anything, but my body can't get used to it, of just relaxing, of just being like, yo, dude, for you it's over. For you, just enjoy life, make the best of it. I was always like I had this anxiety, and like, dude, what the fuck is it? How come I can't control this? And me being a ranger, I was super prideful. So all this stuff that's happening, it's little by little just chipping away at my pride. And I'm like, you know, and next thing you know, my wife and I separate. And the reason I got out was for my kids. Now I don't see my kids. I'm sleeping at my aunt's futon. I'm fucking broke. Because one of the things they didn't tell me was that not only that when you go to school, do you not get paid on the 1st and the 15th like you would in the army, but you actually have to go to school for the month. So, for example, if I'm going to school for the month of September, I'm not going to get paid until October 1st. And then I wasn't warned that, sometimes the pay isn't going to happen. So, you know, I dropped that $2,700 on to repair my car. Stuff in California is a little bit more expensive than what I thought. And I'm thinking this big check is going to come. And they're like, no, man, you have to go to school for that month. So then I wait for that whole month. And the first comes and I don't get paid. And I'm just thinking, like, I needed that fucking money. I was a fucking E5 with all these extra pays. And now, you know, the $2,600 I'm supposed to get from the GI Bill didn't fucking come. And guess what? The bills aren't going to stop. And they're like, oh, we're sorry, you're going to get paid, don't worry, you're going to get paid on the next first. And I'm like thinking, like, what? Like, bills are due now. And next you know, the first of the next month happens, and I still don't get paid. And I'm fucking broke. You know, the gym that's supposed to be my therapy it's not really helping. I'm not seeing my kids. School's getting harder. My wife, who's supposed to be my best friend, we're not talking. I've seen a side of her that I've never seen before. She, you know, I'm not here to talk about other people's wrongdoings, but I'm here to talk about my wrongdoings. And she was my best friend, and I've known her since we were 7 years old. So for her not for us to have this thing that we had for years, it's devastating. It's hurting. You know. And then all these questions are not answered. And me feeling not necessarily alone, but like, you know, I started to miss even the dudes that I didn't really like from my platoon or section or whatever. You know, I started to realize I felt like an individual without a tribe. I felt alone. I'm in Southern California where there's like millions of fucking people, but somehow I felt alone. And I was like thinking, this is not supposed to happen to me. This is not how it's supposed to go. You know, I'm a fucking, I'm a fucking ranger. I'm the best of the best. I've been to war. I've been to Iraq. I've been to Afghanistan. I've been to some of the toughest schools there is out there. And if I didn't go to the toughest schools out there, I've trained and fought with people along the side who've been to those fucking schools. So why is this happening to me? And that now, when my friend told me be ready for the storm, I knew exactly what he was talking about. And, fucking the GI Bill wasn't working, so I got a part-time job. And right when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I was making fucking smoothies at this place called Bonsai Bowl, and fucking thank you for the job if you watch this, the owner or any worker or whatever. But I remember I was walking to work. I was supposed to help open, and this is I worked at the one in Newport Beach, California, and as I'm walking, I found some parking, and I'm walking and I hear somebody yell, "Get the fuck out of here!" And I'm like thinking, like, what the fuck is going on? It's like, get the fuck out of here! You're not welcome to my neighborhood. I fucking hate you. And then now I see that some guy's approaching me, and he's got like this. He's taller than me, I'm not a big guy, but like he's got like a dad bod going on. So he's like, I fucking hate Mexicans. I fucking hate you. Get the fuck out of here. You're not welcome. And I remember just looking at him. Now we're approaching, but he doesn't look like he's ready to fight. You've seen that look when someone's ready to hit you or something. He had more that look like he was ready to get hit. And I remember just kind of having like a smirk on my face, like, what? Like, just like, dude, what the fuck? And he's like, I fucking hate you. Get the fuck out of here. And I remember going home. I mean, not home. I'm going to work, and I told my friend, and he was like, what? And he was angry. But at that moment, when it was happening, I knew, like, yo, don't touch this guy. Because if I kick his ass, like, nothing's gonna change. In reality, right afterwards, I'm gonna feel bad. And depending on how bad I kick his ass, or if I, put his face on the fucking curb and stomp it, like, then I'm going to jail. I'm going to jail because this fucking dude hates Mexicans. And now for sure I'm not gonna see my kids, and whatever benefits I may have are gonna be taken away. But I remember then thinking, like, and after that I went home, and I was sitting on the futon. Nobody was home, and I remember just thinking, like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You had, not that long ago, you had a career. You had a family. You lived in a fucking house. Now you're asking your aunt for $5 for gas so you can go to work to a fucking place that you're not welcome to. And for sure, I was like, I'm not sleeping, and I got all this pain because my body doesn't have to push it anymore, and everything that it just, like I was just holding in, it was out. Fucking things hurt. I'm at the time I'm fucking 26, 27, and my body feels like it's 50. I'm not seeing my kids. I'm broke. I feel alone. I'm just thinking, dude, what the fuck are you doing? And I might be missing some things, and maybe I'll do a redo video and tell you the other things that have been happening. But I think you get the picture. Like, everything and anything that could have happened that I didn't plan for, it was failing. It was just going down the fucking drain. And I made a decision a long time ago that in these videos I'm not going to edit anything, you know, because when you talk to me in real life, like, dude, I'm not some smooth talker with a high vocabulary whose thoughts just roll out. You know, I might say one thing, but I meant to say another, and this is who I am, you know. And sometimes I mispronounce words, or I make up words, or, you know. And then if this is your first time seeing a video, you know, I have shades, not because I want to be a cool guy and have shades indoor, but it's because I was told not to look at the fucking camera, but I keep looking at the camera. You know, and none of my videos or anything, like, I'm not trying to be super, super pissy, you know, like, I come from the military, but at the same time, I'm not some crazy fucker out there. I'm pretty sure we've all seen these crazy people on a certain side, like, anyways, so, like, all this shit is happening, right? So, like, and I'm pretty sure it's happened to a lot of us. Maybe not all of it, maybe some of it, maybe even more, but now but you see me here, you see me in this position, and if you've been following me for a while, you know, it looks like a smooth ass fucking life, and everything's fun, but what did I do to survive that low and come out on the other side? And you know what I did? I never gave up. As shitty and as easy and stupid as that sound, you know, I'd always tell myself things are gonna get better. You know, even when I was super depressed or whatever, like, you know what, things are gonna get better. And we all need help. And while I was going to school, I met some veterans. You know, I met some veterans and some people who aren't veterans, and now, you know, and they helped me, and we hung out, and sometimes they heard me voice my, you know, fucking troubles, and now, little by little, we're hanging out, and, you know, now I don't feel like a man without a tribe. Now I feel like part of something, part of a group, you know. And for my pain, I found CBD. I found, you know, I got more into yoga. I started thinking more of my body. You know, had a positive mindset, even if it was a false positive mindset, you know. But like okay, well, if you're this low, you can't get any lower. Things are gonna get better. You know, and I had family support. As much as, you know, things were going bad, my family was always there. And even when things were going kind of bad, I call them like inner bitch fits. Like, I would have these inner bitch fit, like, dude, fucking school is super hard. You know, you're starting to fall behind and all this and that. And then I would tell myself afterwards, like, you know, like, are you fucking done? Like, are you done with your bitch fit? Like, if so, then okay, now what are we gonna do? You know, you have a problem. Now what are you gonna do? You know, sit down, think about what you're gonna do. Well, then maybe I should spend more time in the library. Maybe I should hit up some of the school resources, or hit up, you know, my veteran friends who are smarter than you. You know, tell them to fucking look over your paper, so you stop getting fucking D's and F's on papers. Like, tell me, hey man, can you please look over my paper, see what I'm grammar mistakes or misspelled words or whatever. You know, spend more time on your homework. And what about my family? You know, how do I see my family more? How do I, you know, it's not like I wanted my family to fall apart, you know, but what do you do? Well, I learned a long time ago that it's hard for people to admit that they're wrong, and it's even harder for them to admit out loud that they're wrong. And I realized I didn't make the transition of being an army husband and an army dad as well as I should have. I should have helped more around the house. I should have paid more attention to my wife and kids, and I should have been less selfish and other things, you know. And I should have voiced what I expected from her, and what do I want, and communication is key. People can't read your fucking mind, so if you like something, you don't like something, you have to voice it. If not, people don't know. and I had to get this a hold on these questions. So I went to go talk to somebody, and another thing was I was telling the counselor, I was like, I find myself playing with my kids. My little girl likes to pick roses, and I'm picking roses with her, and I can't help but think, like, dude, this is not you. You know what you are. You know what you've done. Don't try to fake it over here, picking flowers with kids and coloring books and being nice. You know what you are. You know what you can do. So, and I told her that. I was like, why is it that, like, I do all these nice things, I'm kind, but at the same time I've been to war, so I know what I'm capable of. Sometimes I feel like you can't, why am I fooling myself? And she said something, why can't you be both? Why can't you be the individual you are during deployment? And why can't you just be gentle? Like, who says that you can't be both? And I realized, you know what? I'm not faking it. Like, I am kind, and I do want to pick flowers with my little girl and hold my son's hand and walk around and go to the park. So that's one thing I never thought about. So that and other things, and sometimes a lot of these things I already knew the answer to, but it's just I just needed to hear it from somebody else. And I kept going at the gym because the gym is great. It's fucking therapy. And I just kept at it little by little. Try not to if there's so many problems, try not to let it get to me. I try to handle it like Ranger School or RASP, If you think about it, when you're going to Ranger School, like, fuck, I have so many days, and if I have to recycle, I have even more days. You're just going to overwhelm yourself. Just take it one day at a time. It sounds super corny. It sounds fucking gay as fuck, but, like, yo, it works. Just deal with what you have in front of your face. Deal with the day. Be as productive and honest to yourself as possible. And seek self-improvement. So in Ranger School, just worry about today. The next day, calculate it again. Okay? And you don't have to be like this forever. You just have to be like that for that day. I get it. It might be overwhelming. Like, I have all these issues. How am I supposed to do this forever? You don't have to do it forever. You just have to do it for that moment, for that day. Don't worry about tomorrow. And that's what I did. Plus the help from my friends. Plus, my family being supportive, and plus the resources. So I went to the VA, and I went to other non-VA resources, and they helped me so much, like OC for Vets, so you got to do that. If you find yourself lost or having a little trouble, go seek help. Maybe you don't have to talk to somebody. And when I talked to somebody, I never even talked to. Mostly, it wasn't even about things about war. It was just about things that are happening now. But not everyone's gonna be in my situation, and not everyone's gonna have family support, and not everybody's gonna have my mindset and stuff like that. So I thought about, like, what are some things that everybody can do? Because, for example, I have friends who aren't close to their family as much as I am. I have friends who don't give a fuck about martial arts, so I can't say, yo, go join a martial arts gym like I did. It helped me, and those people are awesome, and they have similar mindsets, like, so it's not gonna work. So 3 things that I think if you address, you may not have a smooth ass transition, or your life may not just all of a sudden get amazing, but it's gonna help you out, I promise. And that's 1, having a nutrient dense diet, because there are significant studies that a nutrient dense diet, you feel better. Okay, I'm going to school to become a registered dietitian. I've worked with the registered dietitians. I've been to train with all these professionals, and look, just eating right is going to help you so much. So first you're gonna feel better, and then you're gonna look better, and then thinking that your food, if you're losing weight or you're gaining muscle, it's gonna just only help your body. No, it helps your mind as well. Now all of a sudden you're gonna think a little clearer. Sleep's gonna be a little bit better. You know, you're not gonna have some crash in the middle of the day. So there's nutrition, fitness. There's significant studies out there pointing that, you know, regular exercise, and you don't have to be a fucking martial artist. And I understand that some of you guys are injured or whatever, but if my friend who has no legs can fucking ride a bike with his hands, then I think you, for the majority of people out there, you can work something out. Start little by little, you know, and then build your way up. Don't try to kill yourself because you're just gonna injure yourself, and then you're gonna be like, why the fuck did I even start working out if I'm just gonna get hurt? Start little by little. Seek some help out there. There's amazing videos out there how to get started, or you know, stuff like that. So there's nutrition, physical fitness, and I would say, and you don't even have to be a veteran, by the way. You can just probably have a lot of these issues as well. And I would say the third thing, and probably the most important, is go get help with your physical and mental pain, or pain or issues or whatever you want to call it. You know, if your back hurts, dude, go to the fucking VA. I get it. The VA sucks. Sometimes it takes forever to get an appointment, but just go. Or go to another agency out there in your area that provides services, and there are fucking services out there that you don't even have to go to the VA. You just have to go look for them. For example, I live in Orange County, and there's this great place, OC for Vets, and they help me so much, costs, you know, zero cost. So, and then go talk to a counselor if you need to. You know, so you address your mental, your body and your mind, your pain, because if you're like me, after years of doing all this, your body's gonna hurt. And if you're like me as well, a lot of things you held back, even if you didn't even know, and now it's all just coming out. Deal with it. So with my body and mind, things that help me, we're talking to somebody, CBD, because I didn't want to smoke weed for my pain or help me to go to sleep, and I didn't want to be on pills. I didn't want to drink, and I know you in some of these videos, I think in all of them, I've drank. I'm not even a heavy drinker. I just drink because for these videos I just take a shot because, you know, this is all fucking weird to me. Speaking to a fucking camera, and the majority of the time nobody's on the other side. It's kind of weird, strange, and I just gotta open up and just relax and let loose and just talk. And you know, my friends make fun of me because 2 drinks in and I'm telling people I love them. You know, so I'm not some heavy drinker. So the point is, I didn't want to drink for pain, for my mental and physical pain. So I started taking CBD. But sometimes if pills are gonna work for you, then fucking so be it, you know? I'm just saying, I just didn't want it for myself. What else? I went to the VA, started getting my appointments and stuff like that. So that's 3 things. 3 things that you can do that you don't need your family or luck, or I mean, not luck, but like, you know what I mean? You don't need some of the things that I'm doing, because we are not all the same. But I think if you clean up your diet, just not all the time. I'm not saying all of a sudden be super healthy, you know, just clean up your diet. I promise you're going to feel better. You're going to look better. Physical fitness, it's going to help you, you know. Testing yourself physically, mentally, there's benefits to it. And it's good. It's like therapy. And then go deal with your physical, mental pain in however way it may be. But just don't do what other people have done and just like drink your problems away or take some numbing mind and body pills. You know, don't do that. Just get out there. And maybe I might have missed some things. I don't know. But if you have any questions, you know, if you need anything more clarified or whatever, don't be afraid to hit me up. And I know this fucking episode got a little touchy, so like the next one, somebody gave me the idea, like, hey man, you should just have like story time and just like talking about a war story or like something silly or funny or stupid or whatever, you know, something interesting. So I think for the next episode, that's what it's gonna be. thank you to the sponsors. You know, Savage Infidel Clothing. There's links in the description of the video. You know, they help veterans. You know, I've been shooting with them a couple times. I've gone on a camping trip, and I'm not going to advertise people that I don't know, or things I don't use. Like, I mean, other people do it to make money, whatever, so be it. But like, I'm not gonna do that. You know, I wear their clothes, and I go to their events. Um, you know, it's a veteran-owned company. The CBD company as well. You know, they do great things. I've seen it, and I've benefited myself and other veterans firsthand. So don't, you know, Miss Mary Jane Beverages. Uh, Thank you for watching, and if you want something specific for me to talk about, or address or answer or whatever, you know, leave it in the comments.